Mistiming the course change. Keep your sonar on that starboard flank.
Aye, sir. Sonar starboard flank.
Right full rudder 087.
Right full rudder 087. Aye, sir.
Bring us up to general quarters.
Bosun, sound general quarters.
General quarters. General quarters. All hands, man your battle stations. We are running down a possible U-boat contact.
What's that motherfucker business? Keep them coming, Cleveland.
Eagle, Greyhound, take my position at the front of the convoy. We're pursuing the target. Dickie, Greyhound, cover the right flank.
Front for convoy. Aye, aye, sir. Aye, sir. Covering right flank.
Eagle, Harry, Greyhound, what is your ETA for resuming new stations?
Greyhound, Eagle. We can be out on station in 20 minutes. Aye, sir. We're now 4 miles to port of the convoy.
Yes, I know, Harry. Return to your station at best speed.
Sir, I believe Mr. Carlin have the deck and the con.
So, Watson, we have the target bearing 087, range 15 to 20 miles. I have the con.
Aye, aye, sir. Captain is the con.
Messenger.
Sir.
Go to my cabin and bring me my sheepskin coat. You'll find it.
Aye, aye, sir.
Combat con. Charlie, we're running down a likely sub bearing 087, range 50 to 20 miles. I'm hoping it shows up on your surface radar.
On combat, aye, aye, sir.
Now hear this. Now hear this.
This is the captain. We are running down a target. Let us attend our duty as well. This is what we trained for.
Martin, what you got?
Nothing yet, sir.
Got him. Combat target bearing 092, range 15 miles.
Charlie, what do you make of this target?
Most likely a U-boat, sir. Up for air and a battery charge. Getting ready to come at us, Captain.
Study on 092, sir.
Very well.
General quarters. All hands, man your battle stations. Ready to intercept at 16 knots, sir. We'll do our best to hammer them.
Understood, Dickie. Keep them under by all means. Keep them under.
Aye, sir.
Combat con. Keep a sharp eye out for surface radar bearing 170.
Sir, I have the deck and the con.
Very well.
Mr. Watson has the deck and the con. Distant contact bearing 160.
Sonar reports distant contact bearing 160.
Dickie, Greyhound, the contact is now 10 degrees to my port.
Aye, sir. Aye, aye, sir.
Mr. Lopez.
Single charges, sir.
Single charges, yes.
Sonar reports contact bearing 160.
Starboard bow. All mounts, fire at grill.
I've got him, Mr. Watson.
Captain is the con.
Right sharply, another 10 degrees.
Right sharp 10 degrees, aye, sir. Contact bearing 156.
Sonar reports contact bearing 156, range steady at 1,080 yards.
Greyhound, Dickie, I have him dead to rights. I'm attacking.
Range 1,000.
Left full rudder to 085. Come on in, Dickie. I'm turning to port to clear for you.
Thank you, Greyhound. Here we come.
Left full rudder to 170.
Left full rudder to
All ahead
170.
flank.
All ahead flank, aye, sir.
Torpedo!
You training, son. Bearing, range.
Torpedo in the water, starboard beam, 400 yards, sir. Torpedo! Bearing 210, range 300. There, sir, 2 fish.
Hard right rudder, hard over!
Greyhound, Dickie. I'm launching depth charges now.
Understood, Dickie. I am crossing your bow for my own attack.
Underwater explosion, indications confused.
Sonar reports only hearing explosions. Indications confused.
Right standard rudder to 110.
Right standard rudder, steer course 110. Aye, sir.
There he is, bearing 001, range 400 yards.
Sonar reports contact, bearing 001, range 400 yards.
Right full rudder to 065.
Right full rudder to 065.
Contact
Aye, sir.
inside minimum sonar range.
Contact inside minimum sonar range, sir.
U-boat! Starboard stern! Dickie, force him up!
Much damage, sir. Can't submerge.
Hard right rudder! Hard over!
Coming in close! U-boat! Starboard bow!
He slipped in under our gun, sir. We can't hit him.
Dickie's coming back in! Port side ahead, sir!
Greyhound Dickie, I'm on him, sir. Give him hell, Dickie!
Left full rudder. Loop around and help Dickie.
Dickie here. He's pulling in too close. He's alongside of us.
On your feet.
Son of a bitch, ricochet off the surface.
Man your post. Slow to 1/3.
My language, sir.
Slow to 1/3, aye, sir.
Dickie's in the line of fire!
You're off, Dickie. You're off. Hold your fire. Left full rudder.
Left full
Unmatched
rudder.
local control. Stand by broadside to port. Fire as they bear.
Aye, sir.
Come on, clear.
Get clear, Dickie, clear. Dickie's clear.
All mouths, commence fire.
the ship that escaped capture disguised as a tropical island. World War II. HNLMS Abraham Kreinsen was a Dutch minesweeper built in the 1930s. There were many Allied ships present in Java, but the HNLMS Abraham Kreinsen would be one of the few and last to escape from the overwhelming Japanese forces in 1942 because of one ingenious idea. The minesweeper belonging to the Royal Netherlands Navy was stationed at Surabaya in the Netherlands East Indies, along with several other ships when the Japanese forces were sweeping through the Pacific and crushing the Allies. By February 1942, the situation was growing critical as the Japanese were approaching closer and closer. After defeating a combined American, British, Dutch, Australian fleet at the Battle of the Java Sea and the Battle of Sunda Strait the next day, the sea was now swarming with Japanese warships and the skies were covered with Japanese aircraft. Considering there were destroyed Allied cruisers and destroyers everywhere, there was zero chance of surviving an attack for a small minesweeper. All of the remaining Allied vessels were ordered to withdraw to Australia, those remaining being HNLMS Abraham Kreinsen and 3 other ships. HNLMS Abraham Kreinsen was an easy target, slow-moving and very lightly armed with a 3-inch gun and 2 Oerlikon 20mm cannons. The other escaping minesweepers, HNLMS Pieter de Bitte and HNLMS Elan Dubois, were scuttled to prevent them from getting into enemy hands, and HNLMS Jan van Amstel was destroyed by a Japanese destroyer in the Madura Strait with many lives lost. The only way to make it out alive was to come up with a creative idea. The idea? To turn the ship into a tropical island. The captain ordered the crew to get to work. They cut down trees and branches to camouflage the ship to look like a jungle canopy, and painted the hull to look like rocks. All 184 feet of the ship had to be covered to convey the deception. Because the enemy was nearby, the Dutch crew couldn't risk them spotting a moving island. So they only moved under the cover of night, moving from island to island, anchoring close during the daylight to blend in so the Japanese wouldn't notice them. For 8 days, the HNLMS Abraham Kreinsen and her crew sneaked past the Japanese ships and aircraft and reached Fremantle, Western Australia on March 20th, 1942, the only minesweeper of the 4 to make it out and the last vessel to successfully escape from Java. The HNLMS Abraham Kreinsen's service did not end there, however. Once the minesweeper arrived in Australian waters, it was commissioned into the Royal Australian Navy as an anti-submarine convoy escort vessel. Its Dutch crew were joined by British survivors of HMS Jupiter and Australian personnel. This led to a small feud as the Dutch and British both insisted that a portrait of their monarch should hang from the officers' mess hall, as was tradition. Eventually, it was decided that Queen Wilhelmina of the Netherlands would stay up instead of King George VI of the United Kingdom.
The F-35, a legend in the making. 1995 to the present day, 2022. The Lockheed Martin F-35 Lightning II aircraft is a major American-led collaborative military project whose aim is to provide the U.S. Air Force, Navy, and Marines, along with its allies, with an affordable 5th-generation multi-role fighter aircraft, replacing older existing designs and standardizing the Air Force arsenal. It's planned to build them in huge numbers, and it's intended to be the NATO and Western world's leading combat aircraft for the next 50 years. It's thought to be one of the largest and most expensive military aviation projects in history, and it's estimated that the acquisition cost alone for all the F-35s that will potentially be ordered could easily reach over $400 billion. This doesn't include the billions spent on its research and development. The aircraft also uses some research and technology from previous U.S. secret projects, primarily the F-22 Raptor aircraft. And interestingly, it also draws on some of the design concepts of the VTOL nozzle duct from the 1970s failed futuristic Convair Model 200 aircraft project. Work on the project started as far back as 1995 with the introduction of the Joint Strike Fighter program, a joint venture of several departments of defense and previous programs. Two designs were competing at this stage, the Boeing X-32 and the Lockheed Martin X-35, with the latter winning the competition. The X-35 was a concept demonstrator aircraft that had its first flight in October 2000, and by the next year it had already managed to take off, achieve supersonic speed, and land vertically. It had outperformed the Boeing X-32 and became a foundation for the F-35 project that would follow. After a period of intense testing, Lockheed Martin became the prime contractor for the entire project, supported by Northrop Grumman and BAE Systems. They then started to develop the slightly larger F-35 model, a high-tech single-seater multi-role all-weather combat aircraft. It had a highly capable engine and was truly an advanced stealthy design, and therefore began the lengthy and complex process of system integration. The key backer of the project is the United States, with the United Kingdom becoming a major investor. Other countries who have given significant financial backing to the project includes Italy, the Netherlands, Turkey, Australia, Norway, Denmark, and Canada, with further commitment and participation from Israel, Singapore, Belgium, Finland, Poland, Japan, and South Korea, though in 2019 Turkey was dropped from the project due to security concerns. It was decided early on to produce 3 different versions of the F-35, but to still maintain a high degree of compatibility between them all. This was in order to keep the production costs down and for ease of maintenance once they were in service. Initially, there would be the F-35A. This was to be the standard version and would be purely land-based. It could only be used on conventional runways and is the cheapest of the 3 versions. It's also the only one with a built-in internal gun, a GAU-12 equalizer 25mm rotary cannon. Secondly, there's the F-35B, which has a short takeoff and vertical landing ability. This allows it to be deployed at non-runway sites and could also be used in a limited capacity on-board aircraft carriers. And thirdly, there's the F-35C, a dedicated carrier-based version. This also has short takeoff ability, but can also perform a vertical takeoff and landing. It has a much larger wing that is also foldable, a reinforced landing gear, and an arrestor hook, all of which are designed to help the aircraft to operate on board an aircraft carrier. With such a complex and ambitious design that has so many different demands put on it, it was inevitable that there would be delays and cost overruns. For instance, early on in the project, all 3 versions were becoming massively overweight. This became a major problem as it was causing a significant drop in the F-35's performance, especially in the B and C versions. It wasn't finally resolved until September 2004, after a dramatic weight reduction program was introduced. This added an additional cost of $6.2 billion to the project and resulted in an 18-month delay in the F-35 development schedule. Other problems have included numerous software issues, as well as the discovery of premature cracking in the F-35B airframes and an unreliable arrestor hook system on the F-35C. There was some confusion with the orders placed by participant countries, like in the case of the UK government, who initially ordered the F-35C version for their new aircraft carriers. Then in 2012, they changed their order to the F-35B version, only to reconsider a short time later and change their order back to the C version. But they later dismissed this idea again and stayed with going for the B version. Understandably, with all these various issues going on and the fact that over 300,000 parts were required to produce an F-35, the in-service date would slip back from 2010 to 2015. Nevertheless, what eventually ended up being produced was a cutting-edge aircraft with a very impressive performance. There were 2 particular features that made the F-35 outstanding. The first is its stealth ability. It has an incredibly low radar signature. This is helped by it being coated in a radar-absorbent material. As well as this, its weapons can be carried in an internal weapons bay. It also has a very low infrared signature, and its shape makes it very hard to spot visually. Though the engine noise is still an issue with the F-35, with it being on a similar decibel level as the much older F-16 Falcon fighter design. Its second important feature is its ability to be able to supercruise for extended periods. This is where the aircraft can go considerably faster without using its afterburner, and this makes it harder to spot, uses far less fuel, and is much more difficult to hit with infrared missiles. It also has cutting-edge sensors and avionics that gives the F-35's pilot a high level of situational awareness when in combat. The F-35 also has a highly capable weapon platform that can carry a sizable weapon load in its internal bay, as well as on its 6 outer hardpoints, though using the latter makes the aircraft far less stealthy. It also has an impressive arsenal of weaponry at its disposal. For instance, in the air-to-air environment, it can use a multitude of the very latest air combat missiles, like the high-speed AIM-120. This is an advanced all-weather radar-guided missile that can travel at around 3,000 miles per hour, which is nearly a mile every second, and depending on the version, it can have a range of up to 95 miles. The F-35 can also use the AIM-9X short-range infrared dogfighting missile. This is an all-aspect missile and can even be fired before it's locked on to its target, being then directed towards a target, allowing it to lock on using its own built-in infrared sensor. In ground attack mode, it can use a wide variety of deadly and sophisticated air-to-surface or anti-ship missiles, as well as the traditional laser-guided bombs. All of this can be linked up to the pilot's advanced $400,000 helmet, and though these have not been without their problems and setbacks, they have the potential to be a truly remarkable piece of equipment. With 6 eyeball cameras that are dotted around the outer skin of the F-35, this gives the pilot a true 360-degree view around the aircraft. It's also claimed that the F-35 is far easier to maintain than the F-22, which was a complete and utter logistical nightmare to service. Though there have been concerns about the aircraft's many systems underperforming, being unreliable, and vulnerable to electronic attacks. In 2009, the average cost of an F-35A was $112 million, though by 2020 the manufacturers had finally gotten the cost overruns under control and were at least benefiting from the savings of mass production. So, with over 500 F-35s having now been delivered, the average price of one has been reduced to $91 million. By 2022, most of the project's customers had received some of their orders or were due them very soon. Currently, it's planned to produce about 3,100 of these aircraft, with the production lines projected to stay open until the 2050s, but this figure's constantly under review. It's very likely to change in the near future, as budgets and political priorities change, as well as possible new customers coming on board from countries such as Switzerland and the United Arab Emirates. But there are still relatively few 5th-generation aircraft in service in the world today, and they are untested in battle. So far, the F-35 has been involved in some combat operations, like in September 2018 when one attacked a Taliban target in Afghanistan. And in 2019, it was reported that the British RAF F-35s carried out several reconnaissance missions in combat zones over Iraq and Syria. Both of these operations were carried out without loss or incident. The Israeli Air Force successfully intercepted 2 Iranian drones in March of 2021, which were carrying weapons into the Gaza Strip, the first operational interception and elimination of this type of aircraft. In May 2021, the F-35s took part in Operation Guardian of the Walls, attacking launch pads and positions of multiple rocket launchers belonging to Hamas. To date, the F-35 did not take part in dogfights or any other combat between fighters. Therefore, we have yet to find out whether all of this expensive technology and ambitious design concept will actually pay off against actual enemy aircraft or a dedicated air defense network. Worryingly, there are already concerns in Allied military circles that, despite future upgrades, the F-35's stealth ability might be seriously compromised within the next 10 years by newly emerging technology.